This is Trophy Gold, Focalt's Bounty, Part 1. I want to begin by having all of us introduce ourselves. So when I call on you, please say your name, your pronouns, and anything else you would like for viewers of the YouTube video to know about you. I will start. My name is Jason. I use he, him. I am the co-publisher of Trophy Gold, along with the creator of the game, Jesse Ross. And I have only run Foulcoult's Bounty as part of playtesting. I have never run it like publicly, so I'm very interested to do that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Let's go to Rob.
Hi, my name is Rob. I also use he, him pronouns. I am a kind of enthusiastic player of various role-playing games, particularly Trophy recently. And yeah, excited. The themes of this incursion sound kind of right up my street, so I'm looking forward to it.
Fabulous. Thank you. Amanda.
Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda, she, her. I just really love playing games. I love playing Gauntlet games, especially. It's a really wonderful community, and I'm very happy to be part of it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And Ben.
I'm Ben. I use he, him pronouns. I am also, I make character keepers for playing games online, and I'm excited to be here. I've watched several videos of the Friday crew, and I'm happy to be a part of the game.
Fantastic. We're very happy to have you. Let's go through C.A.T.S. C.A.T.S is an acronym that stands for concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. I like to do this to establish some basic expectations for what we're going to be doing during this series. So the concept first of Trophy Gold. Trophy Gold is a game about treasure hunters that are going to the lost and forgotten places of the world in order to acquire treasure to help them satisfy some particular drive they have. They are desperate, so a constant tension in the game is that they need to get enough treasure or they're going to die penniless and destitute. Basically, they're taking a big risk by doing these incursions. The game itself is derived from Trophy Dark. Trophy Dark is a much more dark fantasy horror / fairy tale kind of game. This Trophy Gold is much more of a traditional adventure game framing, just with a slightly darker overlay. It's not winsome and adventurous like, say, D&D. The particular incursion we're doing is called Focalt's Bounty. It's written by Ollie Jeffrey. It is part of the Trophy Gold core book. In fact, this entire playlist is incursions from the core book. And I don't want to say too much about it, except to say it's fucking intense. There's a lot going on in this incursion. And so we'll get into that in a bit. We'll do subject matter. Let's go to aim. So the aim of us today as a group is to create characters and then introduce those characters, and then we'll begin playing. Our aim as characters, the characters' aims, are to collect treasure. That is your main goal, right? To collect treasure. This particular incursion, you have another mission sort of putting you on the incursion, but ultimately you're there to get money. Our aim sort of in play is to keep the characters alive as best you're able. But when it looks like that's maybe not going to be possible, then lean into it and give your character a really terrific, dramatic end. Trophy Gold embraces both a play to win and play to lose ethos, meaning you're trying to win. It's a very strategic game, actually, and you want to try to keep your characters alive, but you might not. And if that's the case, then just lean into it to tell the best story. That is our ultimate goal, is to tell a great story. The tone of Trophy Gold, and in this particular incursion, is very dark. And there will be moments of levity because that's unavoidable, but just know that we will be operating in some pretty bleak space during Focalt's Bounty. Subject matter. The Trophy Gold incursions helpfully have content warnings right on them. So let me take a deep breath and do this one. Body horror, bullying, cannibalism, classism, confined spaces, graphic violence, harm to animals, harm to children, human sacrifice, manipulation, mental illness, religion, and shipwrecks, incidentally. I'm very curious about the person who's triggered by shipwrecks. I want to know what happened to them. Let's talk about safety tools. We're going to have 3 safety tools in play. We are going to have, first of all, the X card. That's going to be probably our principal safety tool for this little incursion. If something happens in the game that you find to be unfun or uncomfortable in an unfun way, you can say X card or type it in the chat, and we'll stop and make an adjustment. I might ask what is being X carded, but I won't ask why. We also have the open door policy. You can always leave for any reason, and you don't have to explain yourself. We're going to be doing moving lines and veils, meaning we're not going to identify our lines and veils in the beginning. We are going to add to them as we need to. So if we feel like we're approaching something that needs lines and veils, we'll just talk about it. So lines, of course, are things that we prefer not to have in the game. Veils are things that we prefer to keep off screen. So with all that said, do you all have any questions about cats? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording so that we can make characters. Viewers of the video will be back in 0.5 seconds. Okay, let's go ahead and introduce these characters. I'm going to go in the order of the sheet. We just need the basics for now. Name, occupation, background, drive. If you want to tell us about the rituals, you can do that as well. Importantly, if you know something about your drive, you can go ahead and tell us about it, but it's okay if you don't, because we'll explore it as we play. So we'll start with Rob and Vidal, I suppose, pronouncing that? Or
Yeah,
Vidal.
Vidal.
Let's go with Vidal.
Yeah, Vidal is a zealot, formerly a heretical inquisitor, and his drive is to bribe the justiciars so they erase your crimes. So I imagine this relates to his heresy, presumably, and want to get him back in the good graces of the powers that be in Amberay or wherever. His 2 rituals are carve, alter a creature or object via sorcerous subtraction, and smite, strike with a spiritual weapon.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much. Let's go to Amanda and Diane.
Diane is an antiquarian. She is also a disgraced courtesan. She really wants to attend Countess Shima's Forbidden Festival. This is sort of an obsession for her. If she can get to this Forbidden Festival, then it's sort of like showing everybody that she is not this shameful disgrace that she thinks they think she is. And I mean, they do think that, so.
I love it.
Her rituals are compel and gardener. So compel is force a creature to perform a non-lethal task or free a creature from prior compel, and gardener is consume a plant to absorb some of its memories.
Oh, intriguing. I've never had that one in a game. It's fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun. I'm gonna eat some plants.
Yeah. Fabulous. Thank you so much. Ben, tell us about Revel.
Revel is a hedge and a disinherited noble with the drive to retire in comfort in the Rose District of Amberat, because the best revenge is living well. And he's bringing 2 rituals: feather to reduce the density of an object, and lift to temporarily reverse gravity in a small area. He's got a bit of a theme.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Before we begin play, I do want to go over just a couple of rules things. First of all, I want to point out that structurally, the way this game works is, unlike a typical dungeon crawl, this one is divided up into what are called sets. Sets are, they're kind of what they sound like. They're like set pieces that have like different things to interact with and different challenges to overcome. Every set has a set goal. The set goal is usually an out-of-character storytelling goal, but it can also be a more in-character goal, a thing that the characters are very like aware of. You generally speaking, you're trying to meet the set goals, but you don't have to. You can explore and adventure in a set without ever satisfying the set goal. But they act as a sort of like basic guide for what's going on in the story. As you play the game, you will be collecting what are called hunt tokens. And hunt tokens are the primary currency of the gameplay of Trophy Gold. So your characters are trying to find treasure because you have to meet your burdens. And one of the best ways you can do that is to spend a hunt token to get a treasure worth 1 gold. So no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at, if you have a hunt token, you can spend it and say, I want to find a treasure, and I will give you a treasure. Alternatively, you can spend 3 hunt roll tokens, either your own or pooled with the other characters, in order to satisfy your set goal. So you can automatically achieve the set goal by spending 3 hunt roll tokens. Why might you want to do that? Well, maybe you're in a sticky position and you're very injured or hurt, or you need to escape, or you're trying to accomplish just a little bit more before you have to abandon the incursion. You might want to spend the tokens to automatically achieve the set goal. So it's a bit of a strategy, a bit of a tactical thing with the hunt roll tokens. Another thing I want to talk about is, so the incursion is filled with sets. It's got monsters, it's got treasures, it's got the different things to do, but it's not really like a story. The story is what we all sort of do together collaboratively. And the main way that can happen is through a thing called the Devil's Bargain. So when we're doing a particular die roll called the risk roll, part of that is called the Devil's Bargain. And this is something that will happen no matter what, and in exchange for getting a die for your risk roll. So let's say, for example, Diane is trying to jump across a gap between 2 building rooftops, and someone offers the set goal to Amanda, or I'm sorry, set goal, the Devil's Bargain to Amanda. No matter what, you are going to drop your amulet of protection down below. Now, if you succeed at the risk roll, it's because maybe it just slipped out of your hand as you jump across. If you fail the risk roll, it's because you are also plummeting down the gap between the 2 buildings. That's a pretty basic Devil's Bargain, but it's not a bad one. A more interesting Devil's Bargain might be, no matter what, Countess Shima is on the other roof. That is a huge Devil's Bargain and would change the story in a really dramatic way, right? And so that is the power of the Devil's Bargain. That's one of the main ways that you as a player can shape the story. And they're usually things that I, as the GM, did not anticipate. But it is my job, it's all of our jobs, to adapt to it. And so, yeah, so pay attention when you're thinking of Devil's Bargains for other players. Maybe look at their character sheet and think about what kinds of things might be cool for their character in that moment. And I think that's all I have to say as far as some rules things I wanted to highlight. Let's go ahead and talk about this incursion, which is called Focalt's Bounty. Merrick Foulcoult. I shall type that in the chat for you. Merrick Focalt is a madman, they say, or a messiah, depending on who you talk to and the direction of the wind. All you know is there's a bounty on his head for blasphemy, and you mean to collect it. They can argue about philosophy once he's dead and you're paid. Merrick has retreated to the port town of Old Kaleczenie, which has been seized by riots and disease, causing the afflicted to dance, unbidden and violent. Nobody remembers which caused the other anymore. Rioters, dancers, and other things that shall remain unmentioned for now stand between you and Focalt, or between you and the coin his blood is worth, at least. Mechanically, bringing in Merrick Focalt dead, or evidence of his death, is worth 2 gold each. That's a huge sum of money in the setting. If you can manage to bring him in alive, it's worth 4 gold each. Our first set is called the Tempest, which finds you all traveling by boat to Old Kaleczenie in the middle of a storm, which we'll get to when we get back. Let's take a 5-minute break. The Tempest. Traveling the inland area surrounding the fortified city of Old Kaleczenie is a death sentence. Since the bounty on Focalt was issued, many have tried approaching that way and were swiftly cut down by his cultists before they got close to the city walls. Approaching from the sea is perhaps just as dangerous, but at least unpredictably so. Racked by tropical storms and waves the size of titans, boats are wrecked here more often than not, but that not is all you need. Your ship, the Sharglaive, approaches the port in the early hours of the morning in the midst of a tempest so violent that the things that lie dreaming at the depths of the ocean cower in fear. All you have to do is land. The set goal: land safely in Old Kaleczeni's port. I'll type that here. Now, this is just a small little clipper. It is battered, its sails are torn, its mast is splintered and cracked, and the couple of crew members who were helping you run this little ship were tossed overboard, leaving the three of you to figure out how to get it in safely. Do any of you have any kind of ship-related or naval-related skills?
Might be some seaweed off the ship that you could go for, Diane.
Any skills at all? Let's see.
No.
It's not
Strength, if it's just like a matter of brute wrestling the wheel of this.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. I kind of like that. I think that's pretty good. The storm is it's very bad. I mean, the ship is frequently like near horizontal, right? And you're having to like hold on to the gunnels to not like fly off the side of the boat. The sails are flailing wildly. You can hear the timbers in the masts like splintering. You can hear the crack, crack, crack as the storm just shakes. You can see the port. You're getting close. Vidal, I like strength as the justification for taking over the wheel and trying to at least keep control of the ship. Let's have a risk roll. The way the risk roll works is we establish what you're trying to do, which is to like basically right the ship and get it out of the storm. Ben and Amanda and myself get to each offer our suggestions for what we think could happen if you fail. So who has a thought on that?
Too
Overturn the ship. Oh, sorry.
Let's go.
If you fail, it could overturn the ship, turning the wrong way into a wave if the ship is already unbalanced.
Yeah, I was gonna say you just get capsized and you have to like basically swim to shore. Any other thoughts, Ben?
I was thinking too much strength, you break the mast and we're just floating free.
Yeah, total target. Love that. Okay, let's see how it goes. So let's talk about dice. I will give you strength as your applicable skill for your first light die. And now we need to have devil's bargains. If you accept a devil's bargain from one of us, you get a second light die for your pool. Oh, I also need to get a die roller thing ready for us too. We have that very cool die roller page that Daniel Wallace made. Go get the link to that. It's pretty excellent. Yes, create a room. There we go. I'll try to remember to include a link to this die roller into the YouTube notes for people who want to check it out. Devil's bargains. Something that will happen no matter what.
No matter what, you're going to be afflicted with seasickness.
No matter what, you lose a critical piece of equipment in the storm.
I really can't beat the seasickness one. That's so good.
You've got two choices. You can reject them both, Rob, but those are your two choices.
I'm going to go with the seasickness. Yeah, but
Very good. You've got 2 light dice, and I think a dark die is automatic here because it's a fundamentally dangerous thing. So go to the die roller and go to the risk and roll away.
oh, okay.
That is a fail. A 3 light is a fail. You have the option of adding a dark die and trying again.
I think I'll do that. Yeah. So then it will be 2-2. Right?
Yeah. That is a 4. You succeed. Yeah, you succeed, but there's a complication. The complication is you are going to be floating right into range of the city's trebuchets. If you want to avoid that, you can add another dark die and try again, since dark was low.
Yeah, this is, I think, I'm picturing Vidal wrestling with this helm of the ship. Where the helmsman has gone, I don't know. So let's keep going. I'm all for, there we go.
6 light, full success. Please go ahead and just give me the scene of like how, and everybody can participate in the scene, like how you are just like keeping alive and navigating this storm.
Yeah, I think at some point we realized that the helmsman is just not there. Where he's gone, has he fallen overboard? Has he run off? We don't know. And Vidal just decides to the only thing he can do is try and steer this thing as best as he can. He has no experience on the sea, or certainly not crewing in any kind of vessel. But he is, a pretty strong person and can just wrestle this wheel into some kind of compliance, and just by blind luck, as much as anything, he's able to aim sufficiently well that despite the bucking of the waves, which is really turning his stomach, he's able to kind of guide us into port.
Diane, give us a little bit of fiction with you.
Diane is not a ship person. This is a disgraced courtesan who is now an antiquarian. She's a city girl. And she is holding on with both of her arms to whatever mast she can get her arms around, locking her hands in, holding on for dear life, eyes squeezed shut, trying not to vomit with the bucking and the wild bucking of the ship.
Yeah, fantastic. Revel.
I think Revel has looped his arms around a railing nearby Vidal, and he's just shouting, "Little port, nope, little stern, starboard, other one, that one, your other starboard."
Fantastic. Please go ahead. What is your character's name, Rob? You change your name thing. Vidal, please go ahead and put the condition nauseous in the conditions section. And let's keep going. So you navigate through the storm. You're getting closer to the city. It is, I think it's like still fairly early in the day. It's probably like the sun is getting lower in the sky, but you can still see pretty well. As you are approaching the port, there are other ships attempting to approach the port as well. Who knows what mission those people are on, why they're willingly going to Old Kaleczenie. But this other ship, let's say there's just one other ship, is beset by the city's trebuchets. The trebuchets are launching blue alchemical fire from the walls, and you can see it hitting the water all around you, and it just burns hot and bright and blue on the water. This other ship gets hit by the alchemical fire, and the fire spreads rapidly, and you can hear people screaming and trying to like put it out, but they're just making it worse. And the ship, before you even know it, the ship is like just sinking. But you manage to navigate your way through all of that and pull into port. It's probably a rough landing because you don't have as much crew as you had before. It might be rough in the sense that people from Old Kaleczenie might be rushing the ship as you pull up. I will tell you that the city has weather-worn walls, and you'll notice as you're pulling in that there's a city tower that's very central. You can see it. It's festooned with gibbets and heads on spikes. A bizarre sort of clockwork apparatus is moving up the walls. You don't quite know what that is until the ship pulls in and you realize that this clockwork apparatus actually pulls the ships up the walls for disembarkment. And so you land really hard and you think you're just supposed to like find your way into the wall somehow, but then you begin being lifted up. And there are billowing flags of the city all along the wall. And there are people, the famed, well, infamous Old Kaleczenie welcoming committee waiting atop the walls, waiting for your ship to be brought up to them. They are looking over the edge. They are people wearing tattered and mixed military uniforms, and they have porcelain masks with strange grins decorated with gold leaf and semi-precious stones, and they wear dirty, nasty white wigs. And as the ship is being raised up the wall, they're hollering at you. Welcome, welcome. Oh, they have masks. Welcome, one and all. You are here to hear the teachings of our prophet and Lord Merrick Focalt, and we shall be most delighted to have you. You will join us in the eternal dance. You will listen to the words of our prophet, and you will rejoice. Your body will quiver and vibrate with religious ecstasy. Come, come. As your ship is getting closer and closer, this device raising it up. You're gonna have to deal with these people as soon as the ship gets up there. What are you each doing right now?
Vidal turns to the others and says, "These are heretics and blasphemers, but we must move among them in order to accomplish our mission. Listen not to their lies. Do not be drawn in by their foul utterings, but we must be subtle."
A thrown hand axe flies from the hands of a welcoming committee member and wedges itself into the wood planks of your ship. They are ferociously awaiting your arrival.
I don't think now is a time for subtlety.
Yeah, how about jumping?
Are there, like, we're next to the sea, are there any like seagulls and such?
There are probably some
Birds,
seagulls,
scavenging birds?
kind of floating around, yeah.
Well, it depends on what you guys want to do, but I think Diane wants to compel the seagulls to attack this crowd, a la Hitchcock's The Birds.
Oh, that's very interesting. This is compel. I like it. Force a creature to perform a non-lethal task. I think it's probably
Just
satisfies. Yeah, dive bomb them. get them enough to scatter. It's a risk roll, with the stakes being, can you scatter this group of welcoming committee folk so that you can get to the walls safely. Ben, Rob, what could go wrong?
The seagulls attack us rather than the intended target.
Or they're quite used to dispatching seagulls.
That's what I was thinking. They just or they love it. They just love it.
Our friends.
Yeah. Okay, great. Let's talk about dice. Do you have a relevant skill or a piece of equipment that you use in the ritual, I suppose?
I have my flute. I can do
Okay, yeah, like that.
seagull calls on my flute somehow.
That sounds good.
I'm just really good at that.
You got one light die, devil's bargains. Any devil's bargains on the table?
The obvious one is, no matter what, then you kind of acquire a seagull follower that sticks with you from now on.
I kind of like that.
I was thinking the seagulls know your name.
I'll go one different. I think there's a welcoming committee member who is like entranced by your flute playing, and they become your follower.
I think I'm going to go with the human follower. That way, if something bad happens to it, I won't feel as bad as an Amanda, not as Diane.
Let's go to die. I think for now, it's just 2 light dice. It might turn into dark dice if the roll goes poorly, but let's just do a risk 2 light for now. I got a 4. That's a success with a complication. I think the success is going to be, it's going to generally work. The complication is going to be a few particularly rabid welcoming committee members stick it out, and you have to deal with them, but not as many as you would have had to deal with before. If you're okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah, very good. Let's keep the scene going. I'll turn over the narration to you in a moment, but I do want to say that they start singing a welcoming song. The welcoming song doesn't have anything to do with welcoming people, and they're getting the words wrong. It's like a common drinking song, and they're like just totally botching the words, and they're making up lyrics as they go, and they invite you to sing around, and if you don't sing around, they begin throwing things at you. This is all happening while the ship is getting higher and higher. What does your ritual look like?
It's really understated. Diane pulls out the flute and looks at her companions with a kind of a wicked grin and starts duding out what starts off as a melody, but then she shifts the flute and it starts sounding strangely like seagull noise, like bird calls. Still to a melody, but as if seagulls were screaming out a song. And I think the seagulls in the sky start circling around the ship as it's being raised up, circling around the mast. And as they circle, they start to vibrate with the music, and then they start to scream along with the melody before they all turn almost at the same time and head towards up the wall towards this group of people, screaming now a big cacophonic mess of seagull screams.
I think what ends up happening is one of the committee members goes, "Brothers and sisters, it is a blessing on white wings. Our Lord Focalt has blessed us with the power of flight. These are his avatars. Let them land upon you, land upon your body." And the gulls are like diving down and pecking and whatever. And the committee members begin to like step to the edge of the wall and just jumping off. Like, I can fly. And you just never hear them again. And they just start jumping off. And the ship, the mechanical thing that lifts you there, grinds to a halt. And you're able to get off onto the walls of Old Kaleczenie. There are a few of the committee members left, 3 of them say, and 1 you'll notice that hangs back, just watching intently through their strange porcelain mask with the very large, obnoxious, rictus grin. The 3 that did not jump off the wall, they sort of begin to hop. Left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg, and they're waving their hands like a bird. And they're getting closer and closer. They caw, caw, caw. And they're just moving in closer and closer as you're disembarking. Revel, you can tell they have hostile intention. What do you do?
So, were we to jump off this tower, what's below us?
Oh, off the wall? You
Yep.
will land into the market. The market is the next thing up. It is, I don't recommend it. You can definitely run, though, and find some stairs down the wall for sure.
Because I do have the feather ritual.
Oh, very good. That's not a bad use for it. Let's read the actual text of the ritual, see what it says. Reduce the density of an object. So that's you. You can be an object. I don't know if your companions can be an object.
Or lift to temporarily reverse gravity in a small area before we hit the ground.
That's super dangerous, but I like it if everyone's willing to take that chance. There's only one fail condition. Anyway, Revel, what do you do? What do you say?
He will kind of mockingly also start flapping his arms as he takes a step backward, and he'll just kind of go, there's a quick way or a slow way down. I vote for the quick.
Revel, if you let me drop, I will never let you hear the end of it.
The good news is it won't take long to hear the end of it.
Are you sure you know what you're doing?
Yeah. Do you think I'd do this if I didn't know what I was doing?
That didn't sound as encouraging as I'd hoped.
Well, we could stay up here.
Very well.
If this goes bad, I'm haunting you. I'm haunting you for the rest of my ghostly life.
Failure, I think, is assured. Let's talk about dice. Do you have a relevant skill or piece of equipment?
I have rituals and improvisation.
The improvisation feels very on point right now. You've got 1 light die, devil's bargains. I'll make my offer. That committee member who's hanging back also jumps into your little bubble.
Your ritual actually is too powerful, and you remain floating for a period of time.
Yeah, I was thinking someone at the bottom in the market takes note of this powerful wizard using his magic to glide down and is going to tail us or follow us or interfere with us in some way.
3 very interesting choices, Ben. What do you think?
I kind of like the idea of just being stuck floating for a bit.
Okay, like a balloon. They have to drag you along. I love it. Risk 2 light, 1 dark. 6 light. Go ahead and describe your escape.
He'll kind of give his companions a wink and then just jump off the back of the tower. And as they're following, he will prepare his ritual, which involves summoning the magic up through his throat, and he lets it out in a whistle. And so as they're going down, you just hear him whistle, and then just before we hit the roof of the markets, we float up and then down again.
But you never quite reach the ground, Revel. I think you will just be sort of like bobbing along for a bit, and the others will have to like occasionally pull you down, or they can tie a rope to you as well, as an option. But let's just have that scene where you are sort of, and that set goal is satisfied, and that set's finished. You're in the next set now. Actually, let's do the set first. The next set is called the Grand Bazaar. The Grand Bazaar of Old Kaleczenie used to be a humble street market. Since Focalt arrived, it has transformed into a nightmarishly crowded labyrinth of stalls and tents, spilling and climbing over each other. Traders push past each other to be next to thrust their goods in your face. Your goal here is to battle through the crowds to get to the amphitheater, which is where Merrick holds court. I'll type that for you. Now, as you're sort of getting your footing, I will tell you about the stalls. It's nearly impossible to tell how many stalls there are here, as they're crushed so close together and situated on top of each other. Some of the stalls are only accessible via other stalls, and they have no connection to the outside world, as best you can tell. You might see some of the owners of those stalls glimpsed in the shadows. They appear as if they have not seen the sun in some time. Where anyone goes to the toilet in this mess is unclear and perhaps studiously avoided. I will also tell you that a little ways in the distance, off the side of the main drag of the Grand Bazaar, there are food pits as well. And you'll hear people chattering about the food pits. So you basically have the stalls and the food pits in this set. You can spend as much time here as you wish, as you need to, before you can eventually, hopefully, reach the amphitheater.
Out of character question, what's a food pit? Just a pit with a cafeteria in it, or is it something gross?
You just hear people saying the food pit is over there.
Oh God. Oh God. Okay. That's what I was hoping you wouldn't say.
Let's talk about some of the things you see. There is an artist who's offering to draw portraits of anyone willing to try to sit still amidst the crushing crowds. You can see the portraits are monstrous reflections of the subject's true soul, but otherwise quite good. In another stall, you see babies kept piled on top of each other in a large but not large enough cage. As you press by them, the trader gets up in your face, Diane, and says, Would you like a little one? Let them go for a good price, a good price. They're perfect for labor, companionship, livestock. And indeed, there are just a bunch of babies in the cage.
Ew.
A little question for everyone as you're pressing through. Well, first of all, how are you dealing with Revel's floating situation?
How high up is Revel floating?
I think there's no limit if you don't pull him down. So
it's like he's full of helium.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in the press of the crowd, Vidal's just kind of holding onto Revel's scruff of his neck or something, holding him down, trying to make it look natural, like they're walking together.
Yeah.
It seems your magic worked a little too well, friend Revel. Perhaps this is a sign that its origin is not as pure of intent as you claim.
Perhaps, but this is really quite relaxing. I'd recommend it.
Relaxing, if not for the absolute crush of people that you are having to like press through, move through. Vendors are constantly like tugging and pulling at you, trying to get you to check out their wares. Everyone go around the table and tell me a horrifying ware you are offered from one of the stalls.
One of the stalls is mostly herbs, flowers, things that you might use in small rituals, like the kinds of rituals that we do. I assume other people do the same kind of things around the area. There's little jars of mint looking things and whatnot. There's also a little bowl that looks like what it's filled with, what looks like fingernails. There's another one full of teeth. There's a nest of what looks like just hair, just lots of different kinds of hair. And as one of the shoppers goes by, the vendor pulls out a mat of the hair from the hair ball, and you can see that there's little like lice and such in it. Puts it in a little wrapper, hands it over for exchange of coin. Everyone's acting like this is completely normal, so I suppose it is.
We see one stall where there's a vendor he has kind of a pole over his shoulder, and draped across it are various snakes, and they're quite alive. And as people come to him, he'll take one off, and then he brings out a dish, and he with a knife slits the snake open and pulls out its heart that's kind of still pulsing, and the person buying it swallows the heart quickly, and then the snake is kind of put over a fire for them to cook the rest of its meat.
There is a stall selling hands, ostensibly for hands of glory, but well, it looks like the hands are maybe resting on top of a countertop. When someone buys one, the vendor approaches with a thick butcher knife, and as we pass by, we hear an agonized howl.
Revel, at one point, someone presses through the crowd up to you and immediately begins grabbing your face and pulling your lip down and looking at your teeth. Fine, fine. Yes, very, very good. I shall pay you a good price for these, sir. Good price.
Oh, well, I want to keep at least 3.
And they pull out a pair of pliers, and they are like, they're taking this as an invitation, and they're going into your mouth with the pliers. They're trying to. What do you do?
I'm going to take the opportunity to try and pickpocket them and then wiggle out from Vidal's arm.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You can't just float away. And then he seems surprised by that and just turns to Vidal. And Vidal, he reaches forward towards your face to try to look at your mouth. What do you do?
Oh, if I need any of my teeth extracted, I'm quite accomplished at that myself. Thank you. I've done that often enough in the course of my duties.
And he goes a little wan and just walks away towards the next person. So let's turn it over to the 3 of you. You are here in the Grand Bazaar. You're ultimately trying to reach the amphitheater. You don't know where the amphitheater is. You're also here to find other treasure as well. You need the money, and these people might just be crazy enough for you to get some stuff off of them without them realizing it. So Diane, what do you do?
Diane's a little miffed that the tooth person didn't want her teeth. Her teeth are very nice. I think Diane's going to walk up to the booth that had the fingernails and teeth and herbs, and is going to speak to the vendor. I'd like to try one of these herbs. I need a sample before I purchase. You understand, don't you?
Well, the vendor, who is a very their lips and their fingertips are stained green. They say, perhaps you could tell me a little bit more about what ails you, madam.
Well, nothing. I'm the epitome of health.
Of course, you please step in and have a look. There is also the inner herb garden, if you wish to have a look there.
Oh, and what do you have in there?
Well, and he sweeps his hand towards the rear of the stall to another stall and says, by all means, go and have a look, madam.
Yeah, she's
you
gonna
go
go.
in?
Oh, absolutely. I want to see what's in there.
Vidal, what are you doing right now?
Vidal's kind of quite single-mindedly trying to push toward the Colosseum. Can we see it from where we?
No, you actually don't know where the amphitheater is.
Ah, yeah. Then.
You just
And
know
he
that
looks
that's where
around.
Merrick Foulcoult is always there, yelling his crazy nonsense.
And he looks around, wondering where Diane has disappeared to.
I'll give you a hunt roll, though, if you're just generally trying to find the amphitheater.
Yeah, I think Vidal would even ask somebody.
Yeah, make
"Can
a
you
hunt roll.
direct me?"
You get one die just for doing it. Another die if you can justify it with a piece of skill or the piece of equipment or skill.
I mean, I have the skill of interrogation, so I know how to
good,
ask
yeah.
questions effectively.
Yeah, I like it. That's good. Roll hunt 2. High of a 2, which means you encounter something terrible. We'll get to that in a moment. Revel, what are you doing right now?
I think he is moving amongst the crowd, trying to hook himself on elbow to elbow and skimming along. And I think he's going to be looking for anything that he could, no pun intended, lift.
Make a hunt roll.
I think appraisal and
Oh, yeah, I like that.
improvisation.
Yeah, see what's good. Yeah.
6 light.
You get a token. I will tell you that most of the stuff you're seeing is just like patent nonsense and junk. But there's a lot to see here, so you never know. But in case you have a token, let's cut over to Diane. Diane, you get to this interior stall, the so-called herb garden, which appears to be a group of bodies laid out in rows, hollowed out with soil in their chest cavities, things growing out of them, lots of fungus, a very particular strain of orange fungus, but other things as well, other plants and things. What do you do?
Diane, if it bothers her at all, if this shocks her at all, she doesn't show it. And she strides into the garden and leans over one of the bodies and picks a small piece of green leaf growing out of a plant that's growing next to some of this orange fungus and pops it in her mouth.
Make a hunt roll. What'd you get? A 2.
Got a 2.
Indeed.
Yay.
As you consume the orange fungus, for just a brief moment, you see Old Kaleczenie looking out from the stalls out to the street of the Grand Bazaar. You see it for what it really is, briefly. What do you see?
Everything is charred and covered in a strange dark orange, sort of like a burnt orange goo, as if all the walls, all the buildings are bleeding it out. The people themselves, they look like dark charred versions of corpses, and the same dark goo is pouring out of their eyes and their mouth and their ears. And everywhere you look, everyone has their mouths open as if they're in a silent scream, but there's no sound at all, not even from the seagulls.
Take a condition called the prophecy. The vendor comes back to where you're at. Madam, did you find something you like?
Well, I found something of interest. What is this mushroom, this fungus here? I've never seen of the like.
And he gets on his hands and knees, and he puts his ear to the fungus, and he says, "It is the word of our Lord."
I tell you what, I will trade you 1 pot of honey from across the sea, honey you've never experienced in your life. I'll trade you this for some of this fungus to take with me.
He takes the pot of honey and he opens the little top of the crock and he begins smelling. Yes, it is sweet, the smell. I can smell the bees that made this honey. I can smell the flowers. I can smell the land from which it came. It is like a letter from across the sea. I accept your offer.
Diane reaches over and closes the jar. Good.
He gives you some of the orange fungus. You can put the orange fungus in your found equipment and erase the use of honey or whatever you have to do with that. Vidal. A little circle has formed in the crowd of people as a little circle is formed. There is a trader moving through this circle, moving around this circle. He's on a bull that has been blinkered. And he's just throwing objects from a sack at people in the crowd. And people are dodging the objects, but occasionally the object hits the person. And the man in the bull says, a buyer, a buyer. I declare my price, 1 small sack of silver. And the person like fumbles around and they don't seem to have a sack of silver. And the trader says, thief, thief, and guides the bull so that the bull lunges down and gores the man to death, just gores the shit out of him and tramples him. And the trader continues like on this bull, moving around, throwing objects from the sack. And because you got to fail on your roll, something entirely worthless plunks against your shoulder, Vidal. It is it's an old ratty doll worth literally nothing. And he says, that is a very, very special item indeed. I'm so happy you have expressed an interest in it, sir. That will be two small sacks of silver, please. This is the equivalent of 1 gold worth of money. Do you? I don't know if you have any. And what do you do?
I have no interest in your scheme.
Thief! Thief! And the bull, he's swinging the bull towards you. This is a combat. The bull is an endurance 9 because it's blinkered. It would be 10 otherwise. Revel, you can be aware of this commotion, but probably won't be able to join for a round. Vidal, tell me how you're vulnerable.
I think the press of the crowd just makes it difficult to maneuver enough. Your instinct would be to try and do a kind of bullfighting move and step aside at the last moment to avoid the charge, but it's just almost impossible in this press of people. So, his only option is to kind of use
I love it.
Use his strength against it.
Roll weak point.
Keep going to the Discord to roll the weak point because I'm so used to doing it. 5.
Weak point is 5. It's a combat 1. Go ahead and roll. You need a 9 on a 6-sided die. Good luck.
Can I use a ritual?
You can use a ritual before the combat starts or at a distance in order to reduce the strength of the endurance of the creature. I don't think you have the ability to do that right now.
Okay.
Revel, however, can, because Revel is not enjoying the fight yet. In any case, go ahead and roll combat 1. All right, so
3.
You obviously didn't defeat it with a 3, but you also didn't get hurt. So just describe how you're keeping it at bay, I guess.
Yeah, I think Vidal surprises the rider by kind of standing up to this bull. He's used to people who will try and turn and flee or just cower. Vidal actually kind of grasps it by the horns before it can trample him, and you can see the rage and effort in his face as he's trying to just hold this thing at bay by just sheer force of will.
Revel, you can join the combat now if you wish, or if you want to do something else, or just leave it out to it.
Could I reduce the density of the bull?
You can. If you want to use a ritual to do that, you absolutely can. It's a risk roll. I think just for keeping it quick and punchy, I'm going to say myself what will go wrong. Basically, you increase the density of the bull and its endurance goes up. Please go ahead and get some dice on the table. Do you have a relevant skill?
Rituals.
Very good. Devil's Bargains. Does anybody have an offer here for another light die?
No matter what, you have a target on your back for all bulls after this.
Bull anger. I'm going to say that no matter what, you are divided from the combat. Even if you want to join next round, you can't.
I was thinking that in the haste, the targeting of the ritual is not as effective as you might like, and and just kind of all kinds of things around the market are starting to float into the air, and there's just this utter confusion as like things are flying off the stalls, and you know, people are leaping into the air trying to grab them. And
What do you think? You want one of those?
That chaos could work to our advantage. So
Good. 2 light, 1
that.
dark. Go for it.
Dark 4.
Dark 4. So your ruin actually goes up by 1. Because the dark is higher than your current ruin. But you succeed. You will reduce the density of the bull, thereby reducing its endurance to 8 instead of 9, which is great. Just give us the scene. What does it look like?
So Revel will see this is going on and just kind of wind his way through, grabbing on people's coats and shoulders, and then just lay a hand on the bull and just utter a small word, and you see the bull, like it starts to rise just a little bit as its muscles aren't weighing it down quite as much.
Vidal, you have to go 1 more combat round by yourself. You're looking for an 8, combat 2. A 6 and a 1 is a 7. That is not enough, but you also don't get hurt. Go ahead and describe continuing to keep the bull at bay. You're muted, Rob.
what Vidal manages to do is kind of twist his way around the bull's head, so the bull suddenly shoots forward past him, perhaps like trampling a couple of innocent bystanders, and Vidal is now kind of on the bull's flank and pulls out his warhammer, which is what he's armed with.
Revel, you can join the fight now if you wish. You just have to roll a weak point. Tell me how you're vulnerable.
He's still floating, so
Yeah.
the wrong move could send him.
Seems like a problem. Yeah, go ahead and roll weak. 3. All right, so we have a 5 and a 3 as weak points that are active. We're on a combat 4 now. Revel, go ahead and roll combat 4.
Uh, 10. Got my weak point.
Yeah, your weak point, we got 2 3s on there, so that's 2 ruin unless you mark armor.
I will mark armor.
Let's go ahead and Revel, you can start the combat. What does it look like?
He is going to just carefully draw his dagger and try and get right between the bull's ribs without drawing too much attention to himself.
Where does the hit come from, and how does your armor take the hit?
I think he turns to look up and see how Vidal is doing, and the bull just whips its head around, and you see the horn kind of clip his own ribs, but it bounces off, and there's a sharp sizzle sound and the smell of burning hair, and he yelps as one of his amulets just sparks.
Vidal, you get to finish the bull off. Describe it.
Yeah, as Revel's kind of on the other side of it, I think working with trying to get his dagger into play, the bull eventually turns and tries to bear down on Vidal again, but it hasn't got room to build up any momentum really. And Vidal is able to kind of just set his feet and swing his warhammer and like strike it right between the horn square in the middle of its forehead, and it just crushes its skull. And the thing just kind of, its legs go out from beneath it, and
I think it falls over
down in front of him.
I think it crushes the rider, spilling their goods all over the ground, but also spilling their silver that they managed to collect from people on the ground as well. Vidal, roll a gold 8. Not bad at all. 2 gold worth of silver. You both can split that if you wish, or however you want, but in the case, it just counts as money on your gold tracker.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, Vidal kind of just stands staring down anyone from the bazaar who kind of is making any move toward picking up any of these coins. And yeah, between, I think I'll split it with Revel. Yeah, that makes sense.
Very good, very good. Diane, once you get your orange fungus, what do you do?
Is there anything else in this herb garden?
I think you accomplished the main thing there is
Yeah.
to accomplish there.
See if there's anything worth money, I'd just take it. But I think that there's probably nothing in here anymore. So I'm going to wander back out to the marketplace.
You are in this crush of people, and a woman who's pressed right up against your back in this heaving, sweltering mass of bodies. She whispers in your ear, "I'm going to the food pit. Do you want to come have lunch with me? I know it's awfully late in the day, but I really could use the companionship."
I really want to know what the food pit is. I feel like regardless of whether Diane wants to go or not, if a person pressed up against her back is pushing that way through a crowd, it kind of, kind of pushes her through the crowd to go there.
Indeed. In the center of the bazaar lie the food pits, a series of 10-foot wide holes, each filled with a different stew. Just holes with stew. The owner of each hole assures you their stew is the best in all of Old Kaleczenie. They go further, declaring their stew is the only one that will not produce great pains and vomiting upon eating. New ingredients are being added to the food pits on a regular basis, including rotten fruit and vegetables, animals, both living and dead, and a fair number of objects probably not considered food at all. What do you do?
Are people paying for this?
Sometimes some people just have a bowl and they go in and dip their bowl in this hole in the ground.
Going to go up to the most desperate looking stew seller and reach into my backpack, pull out my cage of rats, grab one of the rats by the tail. I'm assuming you can do that. I've never actually seen a rat. Grab one of the rats by the tail, close the cage up. How much for this good rat?
And he's looking and he's like, well, one rat, probably not enough to give much flavor to the stew, but the whole cage, now that is a real savor. That is a real flavor that will boil up nicely.
Well, how much for the cage of rats?
And he pulls out a sack of silver, which is worth 1 gold.
I believe we have a deal.
He's like, excellent, excellent. And he gives you the thing and he says, now, are these fresh rats?
Well, they're live, aren't they?
There's only one way to tell. And he grabs a rat and just bites its fucking head. And just, you can see its body twitching as blood dribbles down his mouth. He's like, oh, it's a fresh one. And he dips all the rats into the stew. You can hear them squealing as they plop, plop, plop into the boiling liquid. It's not a bad price for a bunch of rats.
Yeah,
In the city, they'd be delighted by that.
Diane's turned her back, walking away already.
I will tell you, Diane, that you see something in one of the broths, in one of the pits. It's a very clear broth. You see something glinting.
Ooh.
in the pit. It's down a bit, but it has the distinct glimmer of jewelry, which you know well, being a famed courtesan of old. What do you do?
Can I reach it with my pitchfork?
You can try.
I would like to try to reach it with my pitchfork.
I think it's a risk roll. Ben,
That's fair.
Rob, what could happen here?
You reach a little too far and fall into the stew.
The crowd objects to you tampering with their food.
I was going to say that, no, I like those two ideas. I'll save my thought for Devil's Bargain. Let's talk about dice. For using the pitchfork, you get a light die, so we'll just go straight to Devil's Bargains. My Devil's Bargain is the thing that you find is like finding the pickle on the Christmas tree, allegedly in Germany. That's not a real thing, but like you find it and you get some like, it's like a reward. Like you found some sort of like thing, you become like the stew princess or something, right? It's that kind of thing. Found the prize, or like the little baby in a king cake, right? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have no idea what you just said, but I understand what you
What
mean.
the idea is, yeah.
I don't know what a baby in a king cake is. That sounds completely
So for Mardi
bonkers.
Gras, in the king cake is this Mardi Gras cake, and they put a little baby, a little like plastic baby in the cake, and if you get the slice with the baby, it's like good luck. And it's supposed to be Jesus, whatever. Anyway.
Okay.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
I thought you were like referencing something from Trophy
No,
Boom. But
no,
this is real
like,
life.
No, it's a real thing. Yeah. Oh yeah, coin in the Christmas pudding. It's the same idea, right? Like, well, and allegedly it's not true, but like Germans tell me it's not true. But there's like this, you can buy like these like pickle ornaments to put on your Christmas tree, and
I've
if you
heard
find
about
the
that.
pickle ornament, yeah, but it's not. It's supposed to be a German tradition, but it's not. It's just something American marketers made up. So, any other offers?
I was kind of going to say something about the crowd, the angry cook following you, or the crowd of people who are waiting to eat the stew. They don't like that you were digging into into it with a farm implement.
Your clothing will absorb the stew scent, and you will be quite odoriferous.
Condition stew smell.
I picked two. I want to be the stew princess who has a stew spell.
But yeah, it might happen as a matter of course. You can have stew princess. Too light, just too light for now. It's not inherently dangerous yet. Okay, you got a 4 dark. I think you're going to succeed. The complication is going, or no, you got a 4 light. You're going to succeed. The complication is going to be that you do fall into the stew, but you do get what you're trying to get.
Gross.
You can do that, or you can add a dark die. Try again.
I don't want to fall into the stew. All right, I'm going to add a dark die.
It's just a light broth right now, so it's not too bad.
You know what? No, I want that jewelry. I'm going to go for it. I'm going into the stew.
Very good. We'll come back to this moment. Revel, your floating has stopped. You're okay now. And maybe doing the magic again sort of affected you positively. Let's just put the two of you together as you are gathering up the coins. Did you decide to split that evenly?
Yeah.
And yes, let's just pick up that scene of the two of you there. People are like alternately cheering, but also like grabbing the stuff that was in the sack, which is all just useless junk.
This place is madness. Where's Diane gone? We need to press on.
Yeah, I think I saw her go that way into a booth.
We're not here to shop.
Well, Good way to build relationships and get answers to our questions.
Perhaps there's something to that. Yes.
Not
Come,
that
let's
relationships
find
do
her.
some good.
Let's see if we can find out.
Yeah. You don't suspect she would have gotten ahead of you in the crush, so you could go back the way you came and maybe start looking there.
Yeah, I think
You might have seen her even like dive into the herb tent, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll follow through there and see if we can see if she's still in there or if she went out.
The herbalist will greet you and say, "Can I help you, sirs?"
We're just looking for our companion who came through here. Dark-haired woman.
He's like chewing something. He's like, "Oh, got a bit of little special something here if you want it." And he goes in and pulls out this wad of green, chewed, masticated stuff. And he says, "Yeah, take this, chew it up, swallow it real good, and it will make you feel good. People pay good money for this sort of thing. I've managed to unleash the essential oils with my chewing."
I'm on urgent business here. I have no time for this.
Revel's going to take
frippery.
It. You're taking it.
Yep.
It costs 1 gold.
Oh, once he hears that, he'll say, a little rich for my blood right now.
He's like, "Oh, barter then, barter.
Oh, well. No, 1 gold is fine. I'm going to hand a piece of fool's gold.
Oh, you have fool's gold? Oh, nice. Yeah, he well, in fiction, he would say a certain amount of silver, but then you can offer him a chunk of fool's gold. He'll be like, "Oh, my. I think I can't accept this for such a paltry amount of here, let me get some more." And he's gathering up a little bundle
that's
of
enough.
herbs, and he's getting
But
ready.
perhaps you could answer a question.
Oh, yes, he says, with leaves stuck in his mouth. What?
The amphitheater.
Oh,
Which way?
yes. Well, just follow the crowd. It eventually gets there.
We might be looking for a scenic route. Can you just point us in a direction?
The fastest way is probably through the food pits.
Right. Delightful. Thank you. Sorry.
Here. And he gives you the glob of chewed up herb stuff. You can add it to your found equipment.
Great.
And you, sir? Any tinctures, decoctions, herbal remedies I can assist you with?
Oh, I have my own supply, thank you.
Oh, yes.
I'll be on my way.
Very well. Goes back. Let's take a 5-minute break. Diane, this broth is actually cold, and it has a thin film of gelatinous layer atop it. You're gonna have to get down in there, even with the pitchfork. The pits are quite deep to get this shiny thing. Go ahead and just describe that.
Take in a big breath of air, filling up lungs. I mean, it's still like just above the stew air, so you still get a lot of the smell and maybe some particles of bleh into her lungs. But yeah, she's taking this huge, big breath of air and then sort of just sinking down trying to make sure that she's not breathing into her nose at all. But she wants both of her hands available to kind of, you know, search around to make sure she can grab this thing. So she doesn't want to plug her nose. So there is some, you know, nose stewage. But she's reaching around trying to find this bit of jewelry that she knows is there.
You see it, you can hook it with the pitchfork and pull it up. And as you rise up out of the soup, your skin is like just coated with a glaze of brothy goodness. You are clutching in your hand a tiara, a very fine tiara set with rubies and diamonds. It's worth 3 gold, a huge amount of money in this game. Go ahead and put that in your found equipment. As you come out and open your eyes, tendrils of broth stretching between your eyelids, you see a welcoming committee member on his haunches at the edge of the soup pit, his porcelain mask twisted up in a bright smile. No, initially it's a frown, and then he turns it to be a smile, and he says, I knew there was something special about you. When I heard you sing to the birds, I thought to myself, Dog, there's a real special lady there. And now I see you. You have found the crown of the stew princess. Everyone, gather round. The crown of the stew princess has been found. And people are starting to gather around. You get the initial impression that he just made this shit up because they know what he's talking about. But then quite suddenly, like a hysteria, they all begin to say, yes, the stew princess, the stew princess, the stew princess. And they're helping you out of the soup. They're putting the crown on your head. It's dribbling down onto your face. And they hoist you up on their shoulders, this crowd of people. All hail the stew princess, the stew princess. And Dog is jumping back and forth on his left and right feet, back and forth, left and right. And there's just a merriment going on. Revel and Vidal, you can't miss Diane now. As you get to the food pits, you'll see Diane covered in some liquid, being feted by a group, a large, increasingly large crowd of people. She's wearing a quite nice jeweled tiara on her head, and everyone's chanting, the stew princess, the stew princess. And one person pulls you aside, Revel, and says, I wonder what she's going to give to my stew. I hope it's a finger or maybe a foot. And another stew vendor says, yes, 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 I want her hair. Yes, bless me, stew princess, bless me with your hair. And the crowd is, you can tell, Diane, they're moving you to a stew pit. And the stew master of that pit, the pit itself, floating with all sorts of chunks of things in a brown liquid, bubbling, says, Stew princess, what will you give me? What will you bless me with? Make my stew the best it can be. Will it be a tooth? Will it be your beautiful nose? Will it be something else?
Stew master. And I think she's trying to like shuffle out of everyone's hands so that she could stand regally like a princess should. You, in fact, have the greatest of the stews. And the greatest of the stews requires the greatest of ingredients, which of course is the greatest stew master. I want to compel him to jump in the stew.
Very good. It's a risk roll. Ben, Rob, any thoughts on what could go wrong here?
Oh, he immediately figures out what you're trying to convince him to do, and he's having none of it and will not be satisfied with just taking a part of you.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, yeah, a part of you gets thrown in the stew.
I was thinking he'd take you with him.
Mhm. Dice, do you have a relevant skill or piece of equipment?
Well, I was trying to use flattery a little bit to.
I'll take that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. Yeah, it could just be the crown. The crown too maybe gives you the authority of the stew princess.
Yeah, I'm the stew princess.
Stew princess.
So he should just be listening to me. He should just do it with no rules, but that's okay. Yeah. I'll play the rules.
Well, so the thing about the compel is you can't make him do a lethal task.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the stew princess is the only thing making this possible.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So got one light die, doubles bargains.
No matter what, they're going to force you to eat the stew afterwards.
Oh.
Or
I'm going to say, no matter what, someone in the crowd bites off your pinky finger.
Oh, gross.
I was just thinking that word of the stew princess would travel quickly, but finger is much better than that.
Sounds like you got two offers. If you want either of them, you can reject them, of course.
I'm going to go with losing a pinky. I mean, she is the stew princess and she has to give to the stew.
She does. Yeah. It's required.
It's just the rules.
2 light, 1 dark. Go for it.
Hey, a 6.
And a 6 light too at that. Go ahead and describe the compel and what happens to the stew master.
I think the timing is so perfect. The second she's off this crowd, like out of the crowd's hands, and she throws her arms out and she begins this flattery about how amazing his stew is. The sun then just parts through the clouds just slightly, just enough to glint off of her crown and cause the rubies and the emeralds to reflect all around her. And everything just looks so sparkly and colorful. It has to be something from the heavens. This has to be a sign.
He dives into the stew and he just begins screaming. It's so hot. And he bobs up out of the stew at one point. His flesh and his face just melted to the bone, and he's screaming. But is he screaming in pain or is he screaming in ecstasy? It's hard to tell. But eventually the pain overcomes him and he submerges completely. And a good crowd of people begin dipping their ladles and bowls into the stew, and you can see them lustily drinking the stew from the bowls and the ladles, bits of flesh sort of hanging off their lips as they devour it. And that's when you feel a sharp pain at your right hand, Diane, and you look and a person withdraws from your hand with an arc of blood spraying off in the air, your finger sticking in their teeth. You look down and you see what's happened, and that person scampers off and says, "I'm the finger of the stew princess." And they're like running around, "The stew princess!" And they toss it in one of the stews. And Vidal and Revel, the situation's getting out of hand. You're going to have to rescue Diane from the crowd at this point. What are you both going to do?
I thought I advised her to be subtle.
Well, it's a bit late for that. And I think he's going to go, "You fools! You cannot use the stew princess before she has been traditionally marinated." And he's going to make a play to grab Diane to lead her out.
So intriguing. Risk roll, I suppose. What could go wrong, Rob and Amanda?
Oh, they think he's trying to steal the stew princess and or can
I had a
attack
similar
you.
thought. The crowd turns on you and you have to deal with the crowd. You might have to deal with some of the crowd anyway, but it would be really bad if the whole crowd turned on you. Any other ideas for what could go wrong?
No, I can't think of anything. I was trying to think of something to do with the fact that you are a disinherited noble. Maybe somebody recognizes you and now is associating you with, you know, riffraff. Yeah, and delicious foods, amazing stews.
Eat the rich, right?
The rich, indeed. You got two, except you're not rich anymore. You got two light dice and one dark die. I think is automatic. Go for it. Or actually, what was your first light die? We haven't even talked about dice yet. Sorry, I don't know why I'm getting ahead of myself. What's your first light die, your skill or piece of equipment?
I was going to go with improvisation.
Oh, good. Devil's bargains. Devil's bargain. Yeah, I'm going to say that you become the new object of the crowd's stew desires.
Yeah, I was thinking something similar, but you know, after they took Diane's finger, they're going to take a part of Revel.
Yeah, I think it's similar that the crowd is going to recognize that Revel is a companion of Diane, and you know, tie some rocks to his feet so he sinks down and can't float out of the stew.
Well, that sounds more like a failure, but the devil's bargain version of it is just you get their attention, right? You basically have one offer here, Ben. What do you think? Do you want it?
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right, 2 light, 1 dark. Go for it.
I rolled before we talked
okay, what'd
about
you get?
All 5s, so 5 dark.
5 dark. You have to stop there. The complication is going to be that you're going to have to deal with some of the crowd. But go ahead and describe how you at least rescue Diane for now.
Yeah, he'll just go in and just knock everyone's hands off and say, "You ruined the stew. You're too eager. Back off. She needs time. These 24 hours or overnight at worst."
And then people are like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they'll start to agree, you know. I'm like, and they kind of like gently, you know, hand over fist Diane down to the ground. And Diane, you've got fucking missing finger. What are you doing right now?
I think Diane's just, you know, trying to stop the gushing of blood from her hand and screaming, maybe trying to kick somebody into the stew.
I'm going to give you the condition injured hand for now.
That's fair.
Vidal, you can see that there is already a schism developing in the stew princess belief system. Certain members of the crowd are not pleased with this particular outcome, and they are going to they clearly have weapons and other implements to nail their 99 theses to your bodies as they begin to press forward toward the 3 of you, realizing 1, you're outsiders, 2, you have the stew princess, 3, They very much enjoyed what was just taking place, and they don't want it to stop. Thank you very much. Most of them have improvised weapons. None of them individually are anything too dangerous, but as a crowd, they can be pretty dangerous. In fact, they're at endurance 10 as a big group. Please describe how you are vulnerable and roll weak point to everyone who's doing the combat.
Yeah, just the risk of getting overwhelmed, overrun. You can individually fight one of these
Citizens of Old Kaleczenie.
Yeah, there's just as easily going to be another one right behind you, or two more for everyone that you knock down.
Yeah, roll weak point.
Four.
Okay, we got a 4. Revel, are you joining the combat?
Yes, and I think he's trying so hard to get Diane to safety that he's distracted.
Yeah, go ahead and roll weak point.
3.
3. 4 and a 3. Diane, are you doing the combat?
Oh yeah, Diane's pissed. Someone bit off her finger.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, okay, she got the cool crown, but finger is bad. And so she's like, I think she's just a little bit blinded by rage. And that's her.
Yeah, roll weak point 4. 4 is the bad number. We're looking for 10. We start with a combat 3. Go ahead and kick it off, Fidel.
That's a pretty good result, I think.
Yeah.
2 5s and a 3.
2 5s and a 3. That's enough to win. Whoever's got the 3, that's you, Revel, are going to take a hit. But you're going to defeat the crowd. So let's get that going. Vidal, kick it off. What does this crowd control look like?
Yeah, I think Vidal is, at one point in his life, he was in a position of authority, right? So he, is shouting at the crowd to stand back and just swinging his hammer, trying to clear a path. And, just the stern look on his face, and the way he's not being cowed by the numbers of them is enough to give him this air of authority. And he's just, when anyone does get too close to him, he just immediately swings at them, and a broken arm here, a cracked skull there, and the crowd starts to take him seriously.
Yeah, I love it. Revel, keep going.
I think Revel, as he's trying to bat people away, and then someone comes to him with a big, like a turkey serving fork thing, and it hits him in the throat, and the tines bend backwards, and he lets out a yelp as another one of his amulets sparks on his chest. And then he just turns to the person, grabs the thing, and just slams the butt end into the guy's throat.
Nice, I love it. Diane, give us the end of the combat here.
I think Diane is kind of just wailing on people with this pitchfork, and mostly out of luck. She's not really a big fighter. Out of luck and out of adrenaline, is starting to pitchfork people into the stew. Just as they get closer, just kind of nudging them. And because it is a pressing crowd, it's pretty easy to knock a bunch of people into a stew.
Very good. Eventually the anger dissipates, the crowd dissipates. There are a few dead people laying about. You can plunder their bodies. Revel, roll a gold 10.
Two.
You'll be able to find coins and trinkets, semi-precious stones worth something when gathered and collected. Maybe they were things that were going to be offered to the stews. Maybe they were gifts to the stew princess. Maybe, offerings of some sort, who knows? But in any case, you all can divide 2 gold. You can divide it up however you want to divide it up.
Revel will give one to Diane. It won't buy a finger, but it's something.
Thank you. And she kind of holds her hand. I might be able to buy a finger here, but I don't think it'll do me any good.
Yes, I'd say fingers feels like a thing you probably could buy in Old Kaleczenie pretty easily. Who's taking that last bit of coinage, treasure?
Gravel rolls. Might as well have him take it.
You should take it. And can I turn one of my hunt tokens into a treasure to pick up?
Of course.
Oh.
In fact, I'll tell you what you find. Give me just a moment. Oh. Someone has a it's a potion you've seen. It's a healing potion. Silvery liquid, when swallowed, heals you a bit. Mechanically, it reduces your ruin by 1.
Thanks.
Well, things have settled down at the food pits. The crush of people is still moving through the bazaar. The herbalists seem to indicate that the food pits are a sort of lead to a shortcut to the amphitheater. Still don't see the amphitheater, but there's not as many people in the food pits just because the pits themselves break up the crowd, right? Kind of move around them a little easier. Let's just have the scene with the 3 of you there.
See what happens when you draw attention to yourself, Diane. Come on.
Yeah, you get an awesome crown. And she takes off the crown and kind of brushes off some of the stew, puts it in her backpack.
And all
You
it
need
cost
to get
was
the
1
3 of us killed.
Well, you know what they say. No guts, no glory. In this case, no treasure.
Diane, you hear dog behind you. Maybe you feel him at first. He's pawing at your wounded hand, and he's got the sad mask.
You
turned
trying
to
for
face
another
you.
bite?
No, beautiful lady. I just wanted to make sure you were okay.
Of course I'm not okay. I've got a bitten off finger.
Perhaps I could do something about that for you.
What do you mean by that?
And he raises the mask just a little bit. Put your hand inside.
More distractions, Diane.
Well, I want to see what he's going to do.
Probably take another finger.
Yeah, but if he's got some kind of, ritual or some such, it could be useful. It could be worth something.
Or you could be down a 2nd finger. How about it?
Or an entire hand.
He's like,
Oh.
oh, there's no danger, no danger. I sold all my teeth off long ago.
Don't be so hesitant. You're never going to get anywhere without taking any risks. And yeah, I'm going to put my hand in the mask, this guy's mask, I guess. His mouth.
Your hand is up underneath the mask. He turns it to be the smile. And
he says, yes, dog will make it feel better. Better.
you can just feel his tonguing the wound.
I hate everything about this.
You withdraw your hand and there's no difference made whatsoever. And he says,
there, how is that, beautiful lady?
Well, it's not worse.
Debatable.
So where are we going now?
You're going to show us how to get to the amphitheater.
Oh, but we're not supposed to let outsiders go to the amphitheater.
I'm not an outsider. I'm the stew princess.
Oh, yes, yes, that's right. Yes. All right, this way then. Dog will show you how to get there.
Good
And
dog.
he lopes off in a particular direction. Do you all follow him?
Diane, is your hand troubling you?
Well, it's not feeling awesome. No, why do you got something to clean it out? I don't know what I don't
As
know
it hap-
what he's been eating, you know?
as it happens, I do. Or something that could perhaps make it hurt a little less.
Oh, I'm all for it.
What do you have?
I have 3 uses of numbing herbs in my
Oh,
inventory.
yeah. You can spend a
Yes.
use, and that'll clear the condition.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I also have a sewing kit if you need.
No, I don't think
stuff
that's
though.
smell. If you go by a finger, maybe, but
Yeah.
but I think
Maybe on our way back.
Yeah, the numbing herbs, you can spend a use and that'll clear the condition so it doesn't bother you, Diane.
Now come. Let's follow this character.
Character. Indeed. You do follow the character for a time. He does seem to be taking you through a shortcut. There's not as many people around, not like the sort of crush of the bazaar, that's for sure. Let's paint the scene a little bit. Just looking around the structures of the city. How do you know this place is a prison?
I think there's a sense of being watched from, there are tall buildings occasionally and there's an idea that there are you get this feeling that there's some people up there watching down on what's going on below, almost like guard towers, It's not clear who they are, you can't see them clearly, but just this, you can never escape this feeling of being watched.
When you do catch glimpses of the wall between the crowds when they pass by, in some places you can see where the wall dips down a little bit lower. There's stacks of bodies. It looks like people have tried to climb up the other bodies in order to try and escape and were struck down somehow, and the bodies just left there, just in a pile, in a ramp up to the wall. But there's no bodies near the top, let's just say. And it's very rank. The stench and the stagnant air near these mounds of corpses.
From the top of the tower, it's the only place you can see that beyond the wall or surrounding the city, there is another wall a kilometer out surrounding that, and it shapes very distant seem to be guarding.
You turn around down an alley. It's a bit dark because you're between two tall buildings and the sun is getting lower in the sky. Stepping out of the darkness of the alley towards you is a person. Their body seems to be infected by the orange fungus which glows faintly in the darkness. The hair has fallen out in large clumps. Their skin is covered with an orangish rash. And they're twitching, their legs and arms violently twitching. Dog says, "He's come to invite you to the dance." And we'll end the session there. And there's no end of session procedure, so we'll just do stars and wishes. Stars are things that you enjoyed about today's session, and wishes are things that you hope to see in the story next time. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
Stars to Ben for Revel. I really like this character, the sort of comedic aspect, like bringing a little bit of comedy to the things, jumping off the cliff right off the bat. Like one of the first things you did was jump off a cliff, which was really great. And it's really fun to do wonderful, daring things like that because, what other games do you get to do stuff like that in? Especially when you could die so horribly. So yeah, absolute stars for that kind of fun, daring use of the rituals. Rob, I really like this "you're all a bunch of heretics" kind of character you've got going, especially in a town or a city or whatever this is, where it's all a bunch of people worshiping this guy. You're gonna have a lot of fun with smiting, I think, once we get to it. Of course,
That's the idea.
Stars for who wrote this. I can't remember whose name it is. Sorry.
Ollie Jeffrey wrote it.
Yeah, this is creepy and wonderful. Having a lot of fun with it, the whole setting. It's very disturbing. And of course, stars for Jason for running this and having all the wonderful creepy noises. I really like the cawing, the bird was good. I think though, the chewing and the like masticated herb thing, that might be the grossest thing I've ever experienced in a TTRPG. That was just, for some reason, oh no, ew.
It says something that was grosser than the cage full of babies that were for sale. But yeah.
Listen, like, they're not chewed up. I don't know, maybe it's just a chewing thing. For some reason, it just got me. So yeah, that was awesome.
I also really love this setting. It's like a Bosch painting come to life, just this insane city.
I was thinking too, yeah, it's very like a Bosch painting. Yeah, it's very that.
Yeah, just like all the madness all around, or it reminds me of when Willard gets upriver in Apocalypse Now and just the finds himself in Kurtz's compound, and it's just this world of insanity where the rules, the normal rules don't apply and just anything goes. Yeah, it's I love it, and yeah, great. As always, great refereeing by Jason, which like really brings this thing to life, and I'm enjoying everyone's characters. And yeah, I enjoyed my badass moment of facing down the bull. That was fun. So yeah, and I in terms of witches, I'm definitely looking forward to smiting some of these foul unbelievers or heretical, whatever they are.
Probably just
get to the
raise this city to the ground and start over. Feels like the right move for Old Kaleczenie.
I think so.
Yeah. Stars. I really love the Incursion is really great fun. You get a lot of information in the Incursion, and then like the combination of like the Devil's Bargains and just the sort of collaborative play like inspires you to do more gross, weird things, and it all feels like it works really well. So, just as a GM who kind of loves this sort of like tone, it was very, very fun for me. I love playing gross weirdos, so that's always a good time. I thought the characters were great. I thought everyone did. I really love, because this is not a dungeon crawl. It's a I mean, you had a shopping session, right? Like, so like, but it was kind of fun to see how you all like used your gear to like accomplish things. I thought that was really great. It was in a way that we don't often get to see. So that was really fun. And yeah, I thought everyone just did a good job sinking into their characters. Revel is a character I'm familiar with already, so I kind of knew how that was going to go. But I think that the other characters are just doing a good job. Like kind of as a group, you feel very cohesive and already, and so it's really quite fun.
Star for me for the setting. I really, I mean, you warned me that it was going to be a lot, and it is in all the best worst ways. Star for Amanda and Diane. Just sure, let's go see the food place. Let's go to the back of the stall. Let's eat this herb.
The whole
Just
Stew Princess
diving right
sequence
in.
was amazing. Like, it was really fun.
Yeah. And yeah, Vidal, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the heretical inquisitor zealot deals with a city of heretical zealots. Once we get a little more into that side of things, I think you're building up his attitude and what we'll see of that really well. As usual, as was mentioned, the noises and the voices, Jason, big stars. And yeah, looking forward to getting further into Old Kaleczenie. A wish. What's New Kaleczenie like?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, like let's just collecting, who knows? Another star. I really enjoyed the combats. I thought the combats were really fun. I thought everyone did a great job narrating their positioning and their vulnerability and their action. It was just really fun. I could visualize it all really well, and so that was really great fun. Star as well for that little bit where Diane, or Amanda, where you described Diane's brief vision of what was really happening in the city. That was great. It was really fun. That version of that scene in the movie would have been really cool, right? I'll do my wishes. I am very curious to see what kind of approach you take with Merrick Focalt. It's the sort of central problem of the incursion, and so I'll be kind of curious to see how you go about dealing with it and approaching it. I'll be curious to see if you survive, because the incursion gets wildly dangerous in the next few sets. So that's kind of where I'm at with wishes.
My wish is just to see more of this. I want to see what happens when we walk into these new sets. I want to see how bonkers and gross this will get. I want to see how we'll deal with it. Yeah, I'm here for this. This is a really great incursion.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's not often you get to like push things in a way that might cross some people's minds of veils, and that's
I'm very happy that we were able to like just keep that energy going. Like, I mean, obviously I'm a big believer in lies and veils, but I do think there's some times when you want this scenario to like breathe on its own. And which is why I always say that like I would not run this with just randos on Discord. I would prefer to run this with people who I play with a lot, and I already have a good instinct for your tolerances. And so just thank you for just like being willing to dive in and do it, I guess. Any other stars or wishes? Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.